This is a recap of public administration in perspective, but in written form. I will try to keep silent through the whole thing. So we're talking about epistemic pluralism. Epistemic pluralism, a Wittgenstein game. What is it? That's what it is. What's it for? For an action subject like public administration. Notice Dwight Waldo's inspiring remark. Which number of outside lenses would be best? Should we be minimal or grand? Here's a quickie illustration of epistemic pluralism. Note the remarks that Richard Clarke and Don Kettle said about Homeland Security. I don't know if they're right or wrong, but that's what they said. Why don't we look at it? Here are a number of lenses which can provide helpful questions for Homeland Security thinking. Well, here's a book about public administration and theory and practice through multiple lenses, epistemic pluralism. So I should turn on from there. And this talks about 5 or 6 elements of public administration theory. It talks about 11 robust perspectives which you can have in looking at public, the traditional, of course, and then business, economics, political science, critical theory, post-structuralism, psychoanalytic, neuroscience, feminism, the ethical, and philosophy of science, or the data lens. Here's how the book is set up. There's 10 parts with each lens. The first 5 talk about the nature of that particular lens and the diversity that's present in most lenses. So this is about psychoanalysis. Here are possible implications for, say, PA planning, PA managing, and the other 5 parts that you can divide PA into if you wish. Should PA recognize the unconscious more? Is there an unconscious workplace? And so on. What about for public administration as a whole? Here's some examples of possible implications. A business is very heavily into outsourcing, and supply chain management is something that is done not only at the University of Arkansas, but in business as well. The leadership cult can be looked at from a business perspective. The economics lens brings up Ostrom's paradigm, the difference between macro PA and micro PA, just like between macroeconomics and macroeconomics. Political science talks about the influence of money, can talk about the influence of money and practicality. The new rhetoric lens can tell us about the importance of myths and cleanliness even. The life world, anti-administration. Post-structural can tell us about normalization, hyper-reality, and so on. Neuroscience can tell us about neurogov, mirror neurons, and other things about ourselves. The feminist lens can help us with othering clients and the poor, for instance. Positive and negative freedom, and even engineering can come from the philosophy lens. And so on. Next, we have to summarize what you come up with. And here are questions that are raised for public administration planning. Here are questions for public administration managing. When we've done that, there's yet another step. We have to synthesize all the different parts. A grand synthesis. How is it possible? Well, a recommended way is to choose the hermeneutic circle, thanks to Gadamer and Habermas. This is a solid and effective way of handling these issues. Here are some possible syntheses for the public administration field identified in the book Public Administration in Perspective. First, PA should recognize that it limits its effectiveness by its narrow boundaries, and it should deterritorialize. It should expand to establish a sophisticated macro public administration subject, utilizing epistemic pluralism to answer questions like, is government too big? Why? Is government or public bureaucracy, private rather, or public bureaucracy more corrupt? Which is more people-friendly? There's another implication noted earlier from Sixtu's idea of feminine language. We should obviate artificial boundary demarcation. For instance, right now we don't consider the military, and subspecialties eat further at the PA body. PA should expand to diminish emphasis on the mechanics of administrative system and augment its emphasis on the life world. It's not saying that these things aren't done in part in organizations like the Public Administration Theory Network. It's just that we need more. Lastly, we suggest thinking about these things on a treadmill. Feynman, a physicist, a great physicist, talks about how physics doesn't really jive with common sense, and we have to put up with that. This should be also true of other subjects, social science, but that's the enemy, common sense. Ursula Franklin talks about different kinds of common sense, and it's an enemy because most of us don't recognize that there are different kinds of common sense. There's the regular, the vernacular. There's the constructed common sense, or reconstructed common sense, and the projected common sense. As Russell indicates, we are emotional animals primarily, and rationality is a subpart. Nancy Anderson, a neuroscientist, recommends that we do physical exercises on a treadmill. Here's 4 that we could do with public administration. Why should we do this? Why should public administration theory and practice be put in perspective? PA is too important to fail. Institutionalism pervades human action. PA out of perspective is too weak to succeed. Third, PA can make use of this Wittgenstein game, inspired by recognizing and changing his words to say the limit of PA's language means the limit of PA's world. We have the medicine. It's epistemic pluralism. Thank you very much.